you can head the item at the right position can have a section within the section. Thank you very much. Join him as well in the program. Yes. Please, to start immediately, let's rise for an opening prayer so that we can finish the section. Thank you. Someone from the floor can help us with an opening prayer, please.
We will close our eyes in reverence to God. Our Father in heaven, we thank you for gathering us here today to learn and to be enlightened. Lord, we ask that you grant the facilitators wisdom and you grant the listeners the spirit of understanding to be able to comprehend and to apply all that will be taught here today. And we ask that at the end of it all, let us all live here edified and better equipped. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Apologies to our Muslim brothers.
Thank you very much for that opening prayer. We will have to start. Okay, so for the introductions, we've already done the introduction of the high table for the VIPs here present, and the opening prayer is out of the way. For the safety moment, for those of us who are not familiar with the environment, please, for the convenience, just a little outside, use the staircase you have on the convenience. In case of emergency, we have a door and another exit somewhere there, which the management will show us in case of emergency. And I'm sure there are master points is somewhere around where we'll gather when the need arises. Okay, so for the opening remark, I'd like to quickly invite our competent and capable coordinator of NAPI Port Harcourt chapter, Dr. Magnus Carlo, to quickly give us his remark as the coordinator, as well as recognize our national officials and VIPs online who are part of us from the virtual round. Thank you very much, Mike, for the encouragement.
Quite free to kindly do a bit better for GS. Thanks, GS. More welcome to everyone. I recognize you folks here today present, and of course the online participants. All of us make up the community of NAPI participating in this edition of the technical meeting of NAPI Port Harcourt chapter. I'd like to welcome you. It's always exciting and a delight for me to really come for NAPI Port Harcourt chapter technical meetings. It's more like homecoming, so we see each other interact and continue to really brainstorm and share ideas. Right, so I know a lot more said about that. I really also obviously want to say a big thank you to esteemed Professor Bergam. I wished him, who really accepted to chair the occasion today. I wished him, the day I wished him, I called him early in the morning. I was still in bed. I had to apologize, and then called sometime later, and he graciously, as always, by the way, accepted to be the chair of this occasion. So we thank you and appreciate what you've been doing for NAPI, not only for Harcourt, but also at the national level. Also, as a professor, I guess thank you. It's always a delight to have you come around. We look up to people like you, and you have never failed to really show up when we need you to come around. Our veterans have been doing quite well. Moving on to those online, my principal is online, the NAPI president is online, so I'd like to recognize you. Also, the president-elect, they are my colleagues, members of the National NAPI Executive Committee. It's always a delight to have you join us. Harcourt is where it happens, and I can tell you that today is not going to be an exception. Without really dragging this, I'd like to quickly also say a big thank you to our sponsors for today, who made it very, very possible for us to be here. LOJ Engineering, and they are taking the presentation today. Quite an interesting topic. You know, as you leave here today. So thank you, LOJ. Each time we call you, and I hear my friend Dr. Jide is online with his colleague and staff here to do justice to the topic for today. So thank you for that. When we call you next time, you also support us. I'll leave it short because I know that there will be a time for the president to also, you know, fill in the blanks in case of what I intentionally omitted, so that we don't repeat each other. So I'd like to say welcome and wish you a very fruitful and enjoyable session of learning and sharing ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate. Thank you very much, my coordinator, for that wonderful recognition and appreciation to our sponsors and our PLPs, Bob present in the hall. I'd like to give our principal and the audience, if he's ready to talk to us, or if he's not, President-elect as well. So please, let's hear from the president. All right, thank you. Just give me a minute, let me be sure that the president.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, sir. Thank you very much.
Oh, okay, all right. So, good morning, everyone, and it's my pleasure to welcome each and every one of you to Port Harcourt chapter technical meeting of NAPI today. It's an honor for me to give this opening speech, and also thrilled to see such a delightful gathering of professionals in Port Harcourt that are dedicated to advancing the understanding of the field of petroleum exploration. So today we have privilege, like we have always been doing across all these chapters and also in Lagos, to create platform where we exchange ideas and knowledge. And today we are privileged to have Mr. Danjuma and Jacob Damina with us today, who will be presenting a topic that is of paramount importance, geology perspective to reducing subsurface uncertainties in reservoir evaluation. This topic is not only timely, but also critical as we strive to enhance the accuracy and reliability of our reservoir evaluations. In our industry, the ability to adequately and accurately evaluate reservoir uncertainties is fundamental for us to make an informed decision that will impact both on the operations and the environment. So having the opportunity to listen to Mr. Damina today, we exposes all the critical challenges leading to risk and inefficiency in reservoir evaluation. So as NAPI, we'll continue to create that platform where we share our expertise and insight in order to continue to produce oil and gas as we have always been. So as we delve into the discussion today, I encourage each and every one of us to actively engage, participate in the discussion, share your experience during the question and answer and the comment time, and also through collaboration of knowledge and exchange of knowledge, we can drive and progress our field of exploration and production in the Nigeria basin. Thank you very much for coming to today's presentation. And without much ado, I will hand over to the moderator. On behalf of NAPE and the entire executive of NAPE, I want to welcome each and every one of us to this technical business meeting of the Port Harcourt chapter. Thank you very much. And over to you, Callistus. Callistus, I hope you can see me.
All right. Thank you very much. Please round of applause. Okay. Taking it from there. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I think the line is breaking a bit, but can you hear me?
Once again, Principal, President, like I said.
Okay. Listen, if you can hear me, the line seems to be breaking, but I'm not sure whether you can hear me or you can. Maybe not.
I can hear you, sir. You can go ahead.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay. No, thank you very much. And let me just add few words so that as we get started. But again, first, I want to say thanks to Port Harcourt chapter. I think the president already set the tone, and there was before then the chapter coordinator and yourself, Callistus. I just want to continue to appreciate what you're doing in Port Harcourt, right? I mean, this is one of the key elements of the continuous education program that NAPE provides, and that one of them being the monthly business and technical meetings. And I think you've been doing it quite well since the beginning of this year. So it's just to encourage you to keep it on. I believe, and I think you have one more to go before the end of the year. So it's just to say big thank you to all the executive members and the chapter for keeping the faith and keeping it going. Port Harcourt, of course, as we remember, in NAPE, our ideas find oil and gas, but Port Harcourt is actually at the heart of the oil and gas business. So no surprise, Port Harcourt has been a strong foundation element of what we do. So all I can say is just to keep faith in what we're doing here, because we continue to be the knowledge base of the industry, and to continue to encourage the executive members to continue to drive the ambition of NAPE. So I will stay while in a bit before I go out, but for everybody in the room and online, I will encourage you to just relax and then enjoy the best of the session as we continue to do what we know how to do best. So with that, let me quickly hand back to you, Callistus, to move on. Thank you very much, everybody.
Always a pleasure. Thank you very much, President, for that wonderful encouragement. Thank you always. We are happy to always have you in the room. I mean, your words of wisdom and encouragement seems to be giving us an extra edge when it comes to strength. Thank you once again. Without much ado, like I said, we'll quickly hand over to our session chair, Professor Emeritus Winston Berger, to take over the section from here. Thank you very much. Please let's
Well, President NAPE, coordinator here, whom we all know, Dr. Magnus Kano. Thank you very much for inviting me to chair this meeting for today, the technical and business meeting for today. When you go down the geological age and you go to look for the Precambrians and Cambrian, people like me. fully adjusted to listen to some history tribute to my friend and colleague, Dr. Terry, who is our number one, I think.
Yes.
Contemporaries in Mobile. I always told him that he was younger than me, a little younger than me. Journey together. And it was a great it was something to do, the most important. And we grew up in our various fields and applying our own expertise. It was that without the oil industry, there would be no Nigeria without oil. Politicians keep saying, oh, those are others. The oil went from God went to spend their time shopping, so tradition of many Nigerian citizens. He made this concept that brought about Northern, Nape, mobilized, talk to some of us, and that's how we commenced some meetings at that time. So we should give him a good round of applause. The other bit of the history, when I saw the topic for today, I was excited because the first word on the topic for today is geology. In my time, I don't know if that has been discontinued or if the engineers have won. But we, the geologists, always quoted Lagos. Remember Lagos' special geology? I think it was chapter 6, where it says the geologist is the bedrock of the oil industry. And we used to carry that as a banner. And 94 Broad Street. With smart engineers, you know, they have always been smart around. And we just wonder that exploration of them. But today's topic is reconciling the issues. Because if you learn geology properly, if you practice as an exploration geologist, if you did those correlations, and if you ever went into the library, which Nobel provided, if you read widely enough, you will see the essence of today's, the uncertainties that you are going to lead people. You don't have the privilege of the pastor who leads you to heaven, and when you die, you don't know whether there was really heaven or not. But in geology, those you convince to put their millions of dollars, we will be face to face with you. Okay, and so that's why we're not masters. And I want to commend the industry for all the work we have done. Some of us veered away into other disciplines which make today's issue even more relevant. I veered away to Cranfield to do an MBA. Many followed, including one of the island physicists. And that's the first time we began to see seriously the importance of the debates, of the learnings we had from the earlier geoscientists who brought us up in this country to search for oil. It's one profession where you cannot guess because of the investments involved. So I don't know what the presenter is going to show us, but I am full of expectation that it will take us through the issues of uncertainty. The structural conditions, the sedimental issues, and above all, the imperatives of analysis of uncertainties, probabilities, and in that way, I hope Lord contributes, no matter what kind of expertise is. I wish there were accountants, I wish there were straightforward econometricians, because the science of probability, as you all know, is established areas of concern when it comes to the dollar itself. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. Sure, every one of us is aware that Prof needs no introduction again. Having taken us back to the Precambrian with some of us. All right, thank you very much, Prof, for that summary on awakening our interests on the presentation so far. So I would like to invite our presenter for the day, Mr. Danjuma, to come forward and do justice. Many thanks once again to LOJ. Please let's appreciate this. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you so much. It's really, really a big privilege to stand before you this morning to make this presentation. I hope that I'll meet your expectation, if not all. Gladly, we have the Precambrian with us, and I am well covered. I know probably even from touch. We also hear from very experienced people that have always led the way for us so that we can learn from. So I have a very rich table at this opportunity. Let's give them a round of applause again. So what I intend to share today is more or less experiential. What we have experienced as a company carrying out studies or doing while doing our work. It's really an interesting time for us working in the Niger Delta. Sorry, don't mind this. I don't know how many of you have watched this with the good, the bad, and the ugly. How many? Oh, okay, so maybe there are a lot of younger people here. We that are old, I think they know this, but don't mind this anyway. Don't mind this. Probably we'll make a little reference at the end to conclude. So this is the outline for the study today. Just have a brief introduction. We'll look at our experience as a company, LOJ Engineering Consultants. And then we'll also look what are these uncertainties that we've mentioned. And then we conclude from there. So by way of introduction, a reservoir, we know what a reservoir, referring back to our topic. The uncertainty that we are talking about is in the reservoir. So we know, sure, we that are geologists. A reservoir is a result of geologic process. And if you look at the cartoon on this side, on the slide, as by my right, simply expresses the processes, the sedimentary processes where we get the reservoir. Starts with weathering and erosion. These are transported either by, but in our case, along the river, the water, and then as it ends up in the basin where we are in, which is Niger Delta. So the sedimentation and identification of these sediments that were transported, we have also rivers which constitute our reservoirs today. Of course, there are other elements of the reservoir, but that's not the main meat of our discussion today. So, as a company, we've worked, all our work has been in the Niger Delta. We're not privileged to work elsewhere. So, we also know that when you look at the basin, the Niger Delta, right, it's divided into, you have the onshore, and then you have the offshore too. Now, onshore, we have, is also subdivided into depot belts. We know those depot belts and the northern depot belts. We also have the greater Obieli. We have the central phosphorus swan depot belts, and then we also have shallow offshore. Then, away from that, as you go deeper into the basin, you have the deep water, and that's where you have the inner thrust belt. You have also the pole belt, and then you have the upper thrust belt. As a company, we're only privileged to work in the onshore side of the Niger Delta. I look forward to probably someday that we'll work in the other area of the Niger Delta. I think companies like, if you work for companies like Total, then you know, we're privileged to work in some of these environments that I just mentioned. But on the whole, it has been a very, very wonderful experience because what we have seen over the years, no field, even in the same depot belt, are the same. Every field has its own uniqueness. When you start digging and you start interpretation, whatever evaluation that you do, what we have discovered is you can't carry probably what you did to evaluate field A, and then exactly transfer it. Say you want to also evaluate field B. It's never always the same. There's always some kind of a uniqueness to every of these fields that we have seen in our experience while working in the Niger Delta. Which is a very, very wonderful phenomenon. Now, that is the aspect that brings about all these things that we're talking about, the uncertainties. You know, when we're acquiring data, it's the same data, we acquire the same. So, the data, what you have, for instance, is what you use to do your evaluation. And the extent of what you are able to interpret is as well as your data. As we go along, we'll talk more about. So, in our evaluations, most of what we do integrated studies, which comprises of start with seismic interpretation, going to petrophysical, but we also do reservoir geology and static modeling, 3D static modeling. And like our father has said, talk about the engineers, they're also part of our team. So we do the static aspect of the reservoir evaluation. We hand it over to the engineers who carry on to do the dynamic aspect of the simulation. Of the evaluation. So you can see, just as he said, that geology is the bedrock of the industry. Because without what the geologists are able to do and give the engineers can do absolutely nothing. So geology is very key as far as the oil and gas industry is concerned. And whatever you give them, if you give them garbage, that's what they bring to you. In fact, sometimes they may even struggle and they may not be able to even work because they work with real data. So they compare whatever evaluation you do with what is obtainable in the field real time. So we carry out evaluations in all these areas, integrated reservoir studies. We also do FDPs. Now, FDPs also include not only the subsurface, but it also includes the surface aspect of the evaluations, where you also look at things like the well engineering, look at facilities. We also do economics, but that's not part of our concern for today. So our chairman has also mentioned exploration. We also do exploration studies, and So as a geologist, you meet most of these things. So these areas, however, like I said here, results from these evaluations may show some good areas of uncertainties. Now, before we commence any evaluation, usually we're given data to evaluate. And it is always assumed, at the first phase of these evaluations that these data that we have are sufficient to carry out whatever evaluation that we intend to do. But then, when you start to dig in, and then you start to get results from your evaluation, you begin to see areas of uncertainties. And then you begin to see where probably the data that we have are not sufficient. So basically, in most of our evaluations, areas that we see, talking about just looking at the G&G aspect, that's geology and geophysics, areas that we've seen uncertainty, depth measurements. Sometimes they are very simple things, but very critical, and they can mess up the evaluation. Now, well data, and as simple as depth measurements like reference data, the reference elevation that you use in your data, probably your data loading phase. For instance, your well. I don't know if you heard of Kelly Bushing. I'm sure most of us have. Heard of Kelly Bushing, you heard of rotary table. Well, we'll see more as we continue. And also, there could also be uncertainties in areas of the structure. Now, how big is your tank, where your accumulation is? So we have seen a lot of uncertainties in these areas. So as we go, we'll check on that. Others are unresolved uncertainties. I talked about suspect of macro faults. Sometimes there are some things that you're not able to explain. And as far as your data can show you, for instance, your seismic data, can only show you what you can see, and you cannot just put. I know most interpreters, you don't put anything that you don't see. But when you begin to see results from your evaluations, you may see situations where, in fact, the only explanation that you can say is a fault here. But the data is not shown. So we've seen such. Now, one of the very prevailing uncertainty that, for me, I have seen recently, because of most of these fields are brownfields, is in the area of fluid distribution in your reservoir. Well, we'll see more. We'll see more as we go down. Now, talking about reference depth measurements, I was talking about Kelly Bushing earlier. You can see this your well, is your KB, this rotary table. So some people don't even differentiate these things. Kelly Bushing and rotary table, they are different. Some take it as the same. Well, sometimes also you need to understand the software, because most times we use softwares to do some of these evaluations, or most of these evaluations. So some people can just miss this or use it interchangeably. You could be adding or subtracting some depths to your well, and that can be a source of error. But these are things that we will also talk later on. So I just wanted to bring this so that we understand some basic things like the ME, measure depth, the TVD and the TVDSS. I don't know whether we have some knowledge of these, but this diagram clearly spells out what these are. We'll talk more about it. I'll make reference to them as we go down. So your measure date is some petrophysics call it a long hole, just along the whole measurement, taking from the beginning of the well to the end of the well. So if you look at this picture, this is your measured depth, taking all the way here. So it just follows the trajectory of the well. You measure the depth and you have the measured depth. For the TBD, that's the true vertical depth. True vertical depth. Now is the absolute distance between a datum. In this case, we call it the mean sea level. Oh, yeah, we call it the mean sea level. Yeah. Or we can take a datum as the calibration here. So the true vertical depth is the absolute measurement of this from a reference datum, in this case, either calibration or your rotary table. And so it doesn't account for instance, if you have deviated well, okay, it doesn't follow on the line of the deviated well, but it takes the absolute value from a reference point from the top to the end, and it is usually less than the measured depth. I hope we're clear. But that is only true for deviated wells. When you have vertical wells, your TPD is the same as your MD. I'm sure that is also clear. Now, there's also another measurement that we use called the TPDSS, considering the subsea, mean subsea. And we say that the absolute vertical distance between mean sea level and a point in the wellbore. This is represented in our slide by this blue arrow. So this forms your, this is the mean sea level, this forms your TPDSS, and that is what we use a lot at the end for most of our analysis, because it gives us the true depth of whatever point it is that we want to make reference to. Now, what are some of these uncertainties that may arise probably from some of these things that I've mentioned? For instance, the depth reference that we talked about. Now, if you look at the picture on the left, this is a log plot. This is your GR, this is your resistivity, typical what we have in most of our wells. So you can see that this is a pocket of sand, this is shale, you have some sun, shale continues. And the sun usually makes up our reservoirs. Yeah, we are talking about reservoirs. So the sun makes the reservoirs. The shales, as we know in the Niger Delta, can act as good seals. So they're also the source of our source rock. So what we also see on the far right of that log plot, these are perforations, well perforations. And you know perforations we produce from well perforations. So you will agree with me that those perforations are suspects. Why? 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 Because they are in the shale interval. They're in the shale interval. So we see this kind of things in carry-on evaluations where we get data to work with. So you begin to wonder, okay, so where is the problem coming from? Is it that the company is producing from the shale interval? And we know that we cannot produce hydrocarbon from that section. As far as the Niger Delta is concerned, we don't do that. But the perforations are in the shale interval. So we see some of these data. When you see, you begin to wonder, okay, what is happening? What is wrong? Is it the calibration that we use? Or is it the deviation data? Because these are the two main suspects when you begin to see things like this. The calibration or the deviation data. The deviation is the trajectory of your well from top to bottom. So it properly positions and aligns the well the way it is drilled in the subsurface. Now, so when you begin to see this, now a petrophysicist also usually comes up with this data or with this analysis. These are flow distribution analysis. Remember, I talked about it. So ideally, the ideal case, these are wells, these are all wells. All this, I don't know if it's clear, if you can see, they are wells. These are all wells, even on this section 2. The blue here represents water, and then the red represents oil. Now, a petrophysicist plots this plot from the data that he gets. And what he's saying is that we know that water is denser than oil. So when you have a mixture of oil and water, where does your oil go? It goes off. Yes. So I wish I could have written, but anyway. But what we are seeing here now, it is ideal case from on this picture on the right. When you have your oil water contact, all other wells that do not see oil are supposed to be below the oil water contact, because if those wells are above the water contact in terms of alignment, it means that water is on top of oil. I hope we understand that. So this is a situation that nobody wants to come across, because we can see that the oil water contact is down, is below, and this well is seeing water on top of the oil. So I can tell you, I can go on and on, because of what we see recently. These are recurring decimals in most fields. And there could be several wells that are off target like this. So when you meet this kind of situation, what do you do? What do you do? There are instances that there is nothing that can be done except to acquire more data or new data, not more, probably new data. You may have to acquire more deviation survey so that you can properly align. But all these things involves money. And when companies give you a job, they want you to by all means try to see what you can do so that you can they can derive value without additional costs. So yeah, as a company, we do a few things, but of course we have to agree with the client. If the client agrees, fine. So sometimes when you have this kind of a situation, and then there are similar other reservoirs that are experiencing this kind, probably you can assume that it's a common problem when you see it reoccurring. So you may play with your telebushing. So you can see how important that small thing that we are talking about is. Play with it, and you might be lucky it would align. You might be lucky it would align. But I have seen situations, now in this situation, the television was increased by a little factor, and it doesn't align. But unfortunately, in this reservoir, as it aligned, other reservoirs were misaligning. So as we are trying to solve another one is coming. But we have also worked with some that, yes, we saw something somewhat like the same alignment all through different reservoirs. When we're able to do some iterations of the television, everything aligned. Of course, you let your client know and you continue. So these are some of the uncertainties that we see, also with measurements. Now, this is a grid that was taken by the reservoir engineer. This is not a geologist grid, but of course, it is exactly what the geologist gave the reservoir engineer. Now, we have a well here. Sorry, it's not so clear. We have a well here, and you can see a little circle here. A little circle here. Now, what that circle is also, again, is a perforation, the well perforation. So, what the engineers do when they have models, they do what we call history matching. Okay, they calibrate the model and they do what we call history matching. That is, they try to match the history of the production from the well with the model. And if they see that, yes, it is producing the same oil amount, the same water, if there is water, the same, they call it a geo gas oil ratio, you know, all these things, and then the pressure as well. You know, it means that we are having a very good model. Remember, a model can never be 100%, yeah? But it should be able to represent in large extent what is happening in the subsurface. So, yeah, thank you. So, this one, the information about this one, history-wise, it has started producing. And over a long period of time, just oil, no water. But you can see the leg, once part of the perforation is sitting inside water, the blue represents water. This is saturation map. And then the colored portion represents your hydrocarbon. But you can see a little part of the leg of the saturation inside water. So the moment the reservoir engineer starts running this model, what the reservoir engineer will be producing is water and oil. And therefore, the history cannot be matched. And you cannot, as a reservoir engineer, go in for that if the history doesn't match. Means your model is entirely wrong. So this brings to bear the fact that, again, you are having either deviation, probably the well is a bit deviated, lands more inside in the reservoir than where it is. So this is one of the problems that we also encounter. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mention earlier that data forms one of the major sources of uncertainty that we have. Either we don't have it, or the data is not correct, or it is not even available at all. Yeah. So sometimes what do you do when you don't have data? So ways to tackle some of these things is, like I said, the way of dealing with uncertainty sometimes is with the use of processes, technology, or science. Yeah. So recently there are ways that even logs can be generated, but of course from what you already have. So if you have wells, probably don't have density, a very key log. You don't have it. There are ways that the geophysicists now generate these logs. They use neural network or a regression pattern for wells from other density logs, and then they compare this when they generate those logs with what is already existing. If it is matching well, you know, it brings some certain level of confidence in what they have generated, so it can be applied. My peers are telling me time's up, so I'll just hurry up to round up. Yeah. So these are more of experiential of what we have encountered. Very few items, but at least things for us to note. Maybe when we walk, you know, there are other sources of uncertainties that are generated where you don't have camera. You don't have the uncertainty is also generated because of an uncertainty that you're also trying to mitigate. For instance, the density log that you generated. So that goes on to introduce uncertainty in things like water saturation evaluation because you use the logs to do that. like I said also, there are some that is no mitigation at all. You may just have to live with it. This is what it is. So by way of conclusion, uncertainties reduction is key in every subsurface, but whether you like it or not, you encounter it, like I told you. No reservoir is the same. No field is the same. Every field has its uniqueness, and your ability as a geologist to be able to decipher some of these key uncertainties in all these reservoirs will help in a long way for us to do justice to whatever evaluation we are doing. Now, earlier I made mention of the good, the bad, and the ugly. My boss usually uses it, you know. So when you walk, you come across actually the good, the bad, and the ugly. The fields, they can be very fun. At some point, you will even feel, what would I do? What will I do to go forward? You know, some could be data challenge, the good, the bad, and the ugly. They are all there. However, if you know that thing, when you no data source, that's the essence. No data source should be discarded. And maybe by way of just concluding finally, it will be good if most of our companies that acquire most of this data can really invest a lot, because data is, most especially now, we're in the data era, to ensure that data are kept safe for usage for so many generations. We've had situations that you go to a data repository, you will turn the place upside down, you won't see anything. Sometimes you will even they'll tell you, okay, because of movement from here to there, data is lost in the data. So, and these data are very, very critical. They are all winning, actually, they are all winning. I like the word of Mr. Austin Aguri that always says that this is our industry. It's Nigerians that can only get the maximum benefit from it. So, and if you see the trend now, most of the companies are becoming more Nigerian, more Nigerian. So our ability to have a culture of this data acquisition and data management is very key to managing most of these uncertainties that we have. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, you've had a good lecture, experientially based. It has analyzed to us. I'm sure you all followed, and perhaps will remember more than myself, what it just told us. It told us about the different environments where this data is located. And since it restricted himself to the Niger Delta, and also restricted himself from his presentation to the onshore data, we have to talk around what he has presented to us. Okay? Like the lawyer said, this it has to be admissible to the evidence before they let you talk. Otherwise, they can throw away your best evidence and say it's not admissible. So we'll deal with what is told us. And I think it is key that he has told us that in the work that he has done, which is a function of what jobs his company has done. He also mentioned that he hopes in the future he will be able to go offshore. As somebody who spends my life working for Mobile, essentially offshore, I bless him that he will get that opportunity. So that evidence it is. I can also say that what is presented here is about a well and wells with their experience in production reservoir that is already in operation that is the performance of the wells. And I can accuse that the managers in those companies that employ this company have got to a point where the well is not producing as much as they forecast. And in order to retrieve the situation, they call in the consultant. Am I right? The consultant comes and says he wants a history of all what has been going on. He looks at the life history of the well. And if it's a clever consultant with a good team of geophysicists that have not got a job for quite a while, they say, we need more data. And they have to go back to the client and say you need to now deploy more geophysical acquisition or that. But it's not always as dramatic as that. In some cases, like he has told us, there are different sets of data that are useful for the kind of work we do in both exploration and production. He has made a distinction from his presentation that his work, what is presented to us, is really about production. So when we talk about geology here, we're talking about studying the reservoir that is producing a revenue. Uncertainties there have to be on the methods. I think that's what he has said. Your methods of the type of data that you are getting. The equipment you are using. And be careful. I have a childhood experience, and I have to, since I promised you a lot of history today, tell you about my physics teacher in storage, Mr. Koko. You could never convince that gentleman of blessed memory that there is something wrong with any equipment you have set up for your practicals in the lab. You say, Mr. Koko, sir, this potentiometer or this ammeter, as some are not getting the results you just got us, sir. Koko comes to you and spends a moment with you. He turns back to you and said, there is nothing wrong with my potentiometer. The error is in you. So I learned to always take the first responsibility as a scientist. And I hope the younger ones would benefit from this concept. Start by thinking the error is in you. And if there are uncertainties, you are one of the providers of the uncertainty. If we do that, that would help. So in summary, I think I have to give everybody an opportunity to say what aspects of this, and I want to start with the professor, a leading professor of petroleum engineering. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here, and I thank the presenter. He has been a consistent member of NAPI. He's always available. Most of us. So I would like to say something on my experience. In the 90s, I was in Harcourt, and we came back from Warren. We went to do some logging experience in Panotion or Garife field. So as we came back, they said we should go to Earth in Obagi. That's totally business. So when we got there around midnight, by that time our logging tool has fallen down and our cable. So me and Timbo, we tried to connect the cables and then log in because we are going to do perforation. We log in around midnight. So but when we shoot, the guns were supposed to be 24, but the success rate was less than 12. I was wondering, is it the cables that fall that because they are talking about uncertainty. So I was thinking whether it's the cable that fall that we connected, but it was effective when we finished the connection. And when I came to the office, I tried to find out what happened that we didn't get the good success in the job we did. So they said the operators who are in wireline came and loaded the guns for perforation because they have operators in wireline are different from operators in the perforation section. So they use the operators in wireline to come and load the guns. So they don't know how to set the guns. So by the time we shoot it gave poor result. So the alternative can come from the service companies. That's what I noticed in that experience. Thank you, brother. We are going to take remarks, and we're going to be fair to all we are going to geographically make this fair. We take you in bundles of rows. So the first question from the first section, yeah. If I'm not getting enough questions, I must speak to somebody to say, well, at least what they had the lecturer say. Anybody from that? Yeah, put the questions of like, you. So anybody there? The lady in red, say something. I'll encourage the lecturer.
I can speak from me.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna be that big because it's a brown well, as he said. So the situation is that most of the data was gotten when the well was first drilled, and things have changed. Maybe the oil water content has changed because there has been consequent production. So everything has shifted. And I'm asking, is there a place maybe using velocity models to see if you can reduce the new target depth? What do you think about that? Sizing velocity models.
Well, velocities, they are also a source of, so in fact, it's also a major uncertainty, most of our evaluations too. So if you don't have velocity, maybe from the field where you are analyzing, that's when you have most of the problems when it comes to your depth conversion. And then, of course, placing your wells. But if you're lucky, you have velocity from the field where you are. And not even only that, if the velocity is within the same fault compartment, because as you probably cross a fault, the velocity may change. And if you're using only one, so you can see the uncertainties are there. But if you're able to have a velocity, yes, you'll be able to do a justice to your work. Or if you don't have, you may have to use an analog and then carry all the attendance. Sometimes we see errors ranging up to hundreds of feet, 200, sometimes even 600, and even more. Why? Because they are not velocity that are working from the same field. But if it is from the same field, well, that may reduce a whole. Yes, thank you. I hope I'm able to answer your question.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much for your presentation. And mine is very good. And we would like to talk about it. When you mentioned the major tech, you did not give us the measurement, whether it's in feet or it's in meters. I think in Niger Delta, I don't know if our fathers will bear me out, we measure in feet.
And so not really. So it doesn't really matter whether it's in feet or it is in meters.
Yeah.
Now, different companies use different type of measurements. Some use meters. I know people like Archie, they use meters. People like NMPC, exploration and production, they use feet. Shell, I think you use feet too. Yes, so it doesn't really matter. The measurement, whether it's in feet or is in meter, that applies.
One question is, you talked about alignment of the well, when you are trying to sort out the emissions, and you align the well and the other one is aligned. So what do you do in a situation where you cannot mitigate some of these uncertainties? We abandon for you.
Yes, so like the case I've mentioned, in fact, you see a situation where hydrocarbon is being introduced where it's not. That is very false because the contact has gone deeper than what is expected. But like I also said, there are some things that you do, you try. If it works, fine. If it doesn't, you let your clients know. And sometimes they may have to acquire again. But you carry that as an uncertainty. You may discard the well and go with other wells. That's an option in your analysis, provided that you have other wells in the field. That's also an option.
Can I emphasize something there? Yeah, what you just said means, if you, especially to the younger ones, you have to understand the field itself. You can't just look at wells as independent geographical expressions. You have to look at the field. That's what it talks about. Correlating your experience with the other wells that have been done in that field. Because the process is you find a well, you get first well, and you have oil there, and you start doing a lot of production exploratory work to see how far the extent of that reservoir and all that. All determined by the wells and the data there. So what she's saying is that when you find these non-alignments and stuff like that, the thing, if the earlier people who linked all these wells together make any mistakes in their correlations of the various zones, then you have a fundamental fault. And that's something I want to emphasize, that you make sure that the entire basin is studied. And you can't go in those people who analyze it for the companies. You can't just go in and say they have a problem, you just as well. And that problem persists because before you come to the level of studying the life of wells, the company had already put a lot of investment and have already made a lot of money too. Am I right? Because they will not do the second well, the third well, the fourth well, if they had problems when the first well was a dry well. They would of course say goodbye to their money, perhaps to all the consultants who led them there. So next one, the next. Is there anybody of them from the virtual community who has a question?
I think there are bunch of
Yeah, take them now. So that after this one.
after this we
Thank you very much, sir, for an excellent introduction. So I have two questions actually. You said when you have, the water oil contacts, misaligned in such that in other wells.
Can you identify yourself, please? Your name and affiliate.
Yeah, I am Honorable to a Subsurface engineering chain. Now, you said that we have a water oil contact such that for other wells there is kind of misalignment. The water level is higher in other wells. Yeah, you can sweep the calibration. And when you said, if that doesn't work, you acquire more data. So I would like you to emphasize on what more data entails. That's one. And the second one is, you talked about in the cases where you don't have some important logs, you gave an example of the density log, which of course is very good in getting your positive values. that you can, use neural network and machine learning and what have you. So I'd like to know what your rate is to determine a good model. I know, for example, machine learning and data analysis, when you do some hackathon programs, they tell you it is less than 95% is a bad model. So I'd like to know, one, what's your rate of, your success rate when you do your analysis of variance and everything? What's your rate for a good model? And how many, is it like you use the entire field, the values, the existing values in other density logs, for example, in the entire field to match your data or to respond your data, or you are also going to say, oh, let's extend it to other wells in other fields as far as they are still within the Niger Delta. So what's your test range? Those are the questions.
Okay. Your questions reach 10 or so. I'll try to see as I answer you. Nice gentlemen, we had discussion earlier before we started this. So, like our chair said, nowhere, like I also said, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You have to see how you can use those data that you have by all means to get value out of them. That's why I said whether it's good, whether it's bad, still you have to find a way to see if you can make use of it. Like those plots I show you, if we were to put a fault between the wells, it may solve the problem. So when we begin to see that, you go and check your site data. Is it possible that there could be a fault lying down here? Remember, I also mentioned suspect microfaults. Now, because sometimes some of the seismic resolutions you may not be able to see. So, but you can only, so you have to go around and check. And the worst case scenario, like we said, is to go and rehabilitate data. So some of them may not only be attributed to the variable shape, we also have the deviation data. So these are the two key that probably positions your wells in the subsurface. So you may have to do what we call gyro survey to get your well deviation key. So those ones are where they're not so cumbersome and expensive for some of these operators. Sometimes they can do it and they can get it and give you continue your work. Now, for your question on neural network, yes, if you may notice on the slide, what I also put is just like what you have said. You use what you have to get what you don't have. So you train your data based on the logs that you have from other wells within the field. And then you compare what you have on those fields with the new generator from those wells that have the data. Does the original match with your synthetic or your pseudo log? Now, to a large extent, what we do is more visual than even those success rates that you talk about. But I'm sure the petrophysicists are not the petrophysicists. They can answer best for you. But to a large extent, we use visual calibration. When you place the log over the other one, you're able to see the match. And if the match looks good, it gives you a level of confidence that you can carry into the well that don't have those logs and generate for them. And you can use that to your work. I hope I've answered your question.
Right, thank you. We have a hand raised online. Somebody wants to ask a question. Please, Muyiwa Olawaki, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself and then ask your questions. Thank you. Muyiwa Olawaki, are you there?
So those who may have challenges their audio, they can also type question coming down.
Okay, while we wait for Muyiwa, if anybody else has a question, all right, thank you. When Muyiwa is ready, we can.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful lecture. My name is Mike Endidio. So you talk about the data or no data or not having enough data. So what I want to find out, because I know that during exploration, there are some areas that because of one thing or the other, you might not be able to get data from a particular maybe region that could have made part of that project. Seismic data? Yes. Okay. So now, in that case, maybe as a consultant, let's see myself as a consultant, I'm being given that data to analyze, and it's not enough. I needed more to give a better interpretation. And earlier on, Prof has established that in this business, there's no room for permutation or guest work. And again, as a consultant, you must also put to consideration the cost of running another exploration. So how do you balance this thing? Because if because of maybe a little data you need to do effective analysis, you are now calling for more data, just like Prof said, maybe some of these young geophysicists that did not work for some years, they need more data to do appropriate work on your side. Sending your client for more data will cost them. How do you marry these two? Okay, thank you. Thank you. You know, this data acquisition, for instance, seismic, data for you evaluation, like the seismic you pointed out, is a process of a long chain of activities before it even comes to the interpreter. I think Mr. Magnus can be able to comment a lot more about the acquisition and processing. So I know that they give me a processed data. So a complete data is what I get from them. But as per the quality is what I work with. What is it able to give me? But I know that there's a way that they still acquire data on some of those fields that there are obstructions. Am I correct, sir? And okay, maybe you comment more on that, sir. Yes.
Yeah, all right. I think thank you for. I didn't want to talk because thank you, Mr. Danjuma. Thank you. I think I want to salute your courage, first and foremost, to trade where not angels, we are men, dread to trade. Talking about uncertainty management in subsurface evaluation. It is not something you can just treat in 1 hour or 2 hours, or even 1 or 2, 3 days, because it's extremely excellent. Depending on, and I think that's what the team was trying to say, right? Because from the process of carrying the data itself is for the challenges. Data handling itself is for the challenges. Then the process of that data for the challenges, the interpretation for the challenges, and all of these steps. Let's assume you begin to compound all these uncertainties. How do you manage the eventual? There has to be a scientific way, an empirical way for analyzing and managing uncertainty, and then accounting for it in the eventual subsurface outcome, or rather evaluation that you're putting out. So on the question you talked about, one of the things I have is integration, multidisciplinary integration. Now you can acquire data and be it from geophysics discipline as the case may be, but I can, from petrophysics, I can try to check, do a sense check. For instance, if I did amplitude of three-quarter prediction based on amplitude studies, Petrophys may have taken some reading somewhere. I can use it to say, okay, how do they compare? If I use AI, no, machine learning like you alluded to generate data where I don't have, because it's done, you can train something like you to treat it that's it. The biggest challenge will also be calibration. It can't be easy without calibrating that data that you created. So it's not for the fun of updated data. Garbaging, you garbage out, right? So it's hydra-headed. The thing is this, understand that no single data can thrive in isolation because it is subsurface. I had a friend, we same thing, and he said sometime ago, he said, you cannot bang the table when you're discussing subsurface because we didn't go down. Yes, sir. You understand? It was only our Lord Jesus who went down and came up. I didn't go there. So we cannot bang the table. So what helps you is multiplicity of multidisciplinary data to use to check, cross-check, build confidence. But even at that, I think I'm being generic in my response. Even at that, by the time you're done, for decision makers, we can be able to settle them. This is what I've done. This is the amount of confidence I have in this outcome because of XYZ. But I pity you as a consultant because if you need more jobs, you're careful. You want to make your client happy. But as you build muscle, in the industry and build reputation, you get to a point where if they give you something to evaluate and you don't have enough data, simply say, sorry, I cannot put my reputation on the line. This is not working. Because this piece of data, if I have to give you credible outcome for which I'm going to base your decision, multi-million-dollar decision, then I need this particular data. You can send them, bro, don't be afraid, to tell them it's about professionalism. And we have to be bold as ex-scientists, geoscientists, to say, this is what it is, beyond this, sorry, I can't say. Right. It doesn't mean you're a failure, but it means you know the boundary conditions of your study. Thank you.
He's ready, right? Yeah, please, before you take, we have somebody already waiting on that. Yes, please. When you want is ready to talk to us, is ready to ask us. If you can hear me, when you are, please go ahead. You may promote it.
Yes, I lost you.
We can hear you, go ahead.
Oh, okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, fantastic. Good afternoon. My name is Muyiwa and I'm speaking from Lagos. I think there's no technical data that is absolute. So the more we understand the margin of error in that data, the more we can constrain the uncertainties, and then the more we can reduce the risk associated with that data. So all of us, I'm sure we understand that the more we can do this integration, chances are that we will reduce uncertainties, but we must be conscious of the margin of error that will even lead to that final solution, because the integration may actually compound the margin of error or may reduce it. What we hope for is that the data integration will help to reduce the margin of error and eventually constrain uncertainties. But there is a degree of uncertainties and risk that we will have to live with in the nature, and that's the nature of the business. That's the nature of the business, and that's what I think I like to contribute. I like to hear an opinion about that if there's something. Thank you.
Thank you very much, for that contribution. I'm sure we can have the last question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My name is Enomo Akpanido. Thank God I'm actually okay. I'm a process engineering training. After the geologist, my thank God after the last person. Mine is actually not a question. It's an appeal to LOJ Engineering. My father's in the house. Now, I noticed that I graduated 2018. I noticed that I have learned far more from technical session after technical session that I have my entire 4 years in the university. So I love to ask you because looking at the people here, we have a lot of about 90% of young people, which if you want to tell the truth, most of us are actually not working as geologists. Most of us are actually unemployed right now. Now, we noticed that when my BSc project was on 3D scientific evaluation of a particular field using vector software. Now, we go to getting data. I know how much I suffered. In fact, you go to Better, they'll tell you come back tomorrow. You go to the board, they'll tell you come back tomorrow. But you could get data. In fact, I wasn't looking for real-time data, but it was very difficult to get data. And I discovered that most of my lecturers, apart from one who was actually my supervisor, Dr. Harry, which is secretary of Uyo Calabar chapter, which is actually my chapter. He was the only person that actually believed in the product. He paid his money for me to go learn lecture outside the school. So someone that in fact, when you come to companies like yours, you see that we actually know nothing. We actually know nothing. And you made why I said this is that you said something, you said that companies are becoming more Nigerian and Nigerian will benefit more, meaning more young Nigerian will benefit more. But with this lack of industry kind of training, which sometimes I still blame the companies. By the time you come out, there will be a gap age. You have to be below 21, graduate trainee, you have to be 20, you have to have a first class. And I wonder how we're going to get experience even and that's why you see most times, most like in my class we finished I can't remember, I can't find actually practicing geology right now. That our problems. I want to beg LOJ Engineering and our fathers. And now, is there any way you can do a synergy between your company and the university which operates, especially the Uniport, the UNU and the rest, so that you can actually have time where you could like the department and you bring in this real-time lecture for them. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, quite on point, maybe before our fathers will speak. I spent 5 years before I got a job in my field as a geologist. And like you two, I went into HSC. And in fact, I was almost at the top. Maybe if I continued now, I would have been maybe one, I don't know what to call the position. I rose to the position of a supervisor before an opportunity to start as a what do you the starting point? Yeah, I started, and God helping, we are where we are. So unfortunately, it's the country, and maybe our partners who alluded to this fact. There is a gap in the industry as far as geologist professionals I see is concerned. If you look at those that are way ahead of us, there is no in between, and then you have some of us that are coming up. There are times that we look for some of these professionals, geologists, we don't see. If you look for 5 years experience now, it will be difficult to get. In fact, we're even better when you look at the reservoir engineers, and their own is worse. You put an application for 5 years and you will never see. But because of that gap that has been created, probably because of some of the windfalls that we've experienced in the industry. You know, we had two at the very close session together. You know, there was one, oil price went down, just one where the COVID came, and then, you know, so that has, I'm sure, affected a lot of investment in the industry. So just keep coming to NAPE. I think NAPE is where to be, and hopefully we will get there. On the YP session, I'm privileged to also lead. Yes, we are thinking of things along this line. So hopefully, if you are consistent, you will benefit from it. I also know that the university program, they are doing something very good now. I think they're taking people on seismic interpretation, right? So those that are students, please make use of that opportunity. And for data, if you are consistent following around, there was a time that Equinox put some data online for people to download, and it's a whole lot of data. Complete data set for you to do whatever kind of evaluation that you could do. I don't know whether the link is still there. You can always get there. You can look. And I also know for Nigeria it's easy. If you go through NUPRC, you can always get data. They always refer you to one of these companies that will give you data. And maybe my boss will comment much later on if he's listening about some of the things you say, maybe partnership with universities. I'm sure our company's arms are very open if the universities invite us. So probably, I think the universities too, probably if they can do more in reaching out. For example, there are a lot of service companies that I'm sure are willing to help if we can reach out to them. Not only the IOCs, the NOCs, or the marginal field operators that probably most of our eyes are on, but the service companies, I'm sure they will not. If we can reach out to them. Thank you.
I think that Danjuma deserves a big clap. And I'm not going to talk a lot about because he has touched some of the pertinent issues you raised. We cannot allow ourselves, even if the times and the citizens have victimized us, we cannot work with that mentality. Else you will bury yourself by yourself. Never allow yourself to see yourself as a victim. Because, and everything I'm saying is riding on what Daniel has said, which is very complete. You also need to think about the macro environment where these oil companies you are looking to play. And with respect to the age, it does the employment and the requirement that they stipulate for you to meet, which is very difficult. There are other clients where it's easy, where their societies are saner, the academic calendar is rigorously followed, and people graduate at those times and they get to the labor market and they are fit, in good, and they're employed. But so the government has a lot to do in that regard. But while all of those variables are there, you need to seize control of your future and make it your own. A lot of times I see people who are looking for one help or the other, but forum like this, thankfully, you gave a testimony that if you want to be learning coming from NAPE continuing education service is quite enormous. The first, I was laughing when you started, and I like the fact that you made your presentation very basic. It was elementary part of, it wasn't even the entire school, but it was very basic and elementary. One of the questions that he discussed around velocity, I was at an interview panel where he was asked, if you're here and you heard him explain it, that's easy for you. But if you stay at home and don't open up, attending NAPE meetings where it happens, especially for Harcourt chapter meetings, there's no better. No better. So these open up opportunities for you. You finish, you meet one or two persons, you network. Nothing may come out of it immediately, but it's not somewhere. Somebody can remember sometime. So we need to really do some more. We are where we are, collectively, we need to brace up and fight that demon that is facing. all of us. Like you said, if you didn't come out, you wouldn't know that at a point, was gracious enough to log some data, or even looking for data to do your work or to do some understanding or evaluation. You also may not have known that you go through a and the regulators, and they help you, give you approval, you go to a company that can get this data, you begin to learn and then, equip yourself for whatever could come your way. So thank you very much for the responses. And again, as an association member, like you referred, we have the YP, he is the lead for Harcourt. Then we have also the UAPC, the UAP, right, University Assistant Program, where, we are in constant talk with most of the universities, and we are going around trying to integrate them into what we're doing. Those provides produce for synergy, and that sort of relationship to bridge the gap. NAPE is doing the what they can do. Other parts of the society also need to contribute, but don't forget that the primary responsibility is yours. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've had a great lecture, and I want to thank you, you, Dr. Professor Danjuma.
Amen, sir.
You are. And for all of you doctors, because for me, all geoscientists and LOJ engineers should end up as doctors because of the kind of work you do. We're talking about data management, we're talking about acquisition of data, analyzing the data appropriately, leading to appropriate conditions, setting up your confidence levels. Remember, all science, your statistical analysis, you have to specify, confidence level. 95% or 95%. It's all integrated. So I want you all to take some from this particular. It's about risk analysis, as I told you. At the end of the day, if you are a consultant, you have to survive by the outcome of your predictions based on conclusion, transfer to your clients based on your studies. So if you are diligent, God will bless you. And people that will tell, go and drill particular place that they find oil. If they find oil, you have more work and you become a better consultant. And other people get told about you, and they also call you. In the early times, I told you, I produced a lot of history. I'll tell you another one minute to give you one more history. How did the first explorers find the oil? That was a method called, or rather, they called, we now call it hocus pocus. Yeah, which sounds close to Wayo. Yeah? You throw your hat up, the guys, they just throw up their hat. And whenever the hat fell, they asked them to drill. They drilled and they found oil. The truth, and modern science should be, where those old hats fell, there was oil, because there was oil, plenty of oil in the this of the United States. Okay. But we have migrated to other methods, and the scientific methods and the methods we have to know, understand. We have to make the point is not to take the shortcuts. The regulatory authorities in our time, you couldn't make a field decision about the well and not be put in a helicopter, as I was a few times, to go to the DPR, and they were called in Port Harcourt, and they're flying all the way from the offshore to get a decision to allow you do a deviation, do more perforations, whatever. Anything you had to do had to be other. So when the industry itself sticks to its standards, sticks to its principles, actually fuel problem. And I cannot come here, share this occasion, and not address the last point that he made. about what was the performance of the companies. Yeah. There is a very famous Nigerian, and I call this the now, who whenever he read his students and his children's results, you just hear him say, oh, Kukumi, oh, Kukumi. This is my money going, especially the guys that below grades. Yeah. So it was any company you're working for is looking out for positive outcome. Otherwise, they'll be speaking and they nothing about the risks of their money. So please let us live here, make the right contacts. And I must tell you that I was interested, and we are all interested in hearing from you all, especially our young graduates. Your skills are great. Build on them within that area, wherever you have the opportunity. You are also materials for export.
That's right.
Say Japan is for you more than anybody. Yeah? It's for you more than anybody. Because Africa is discovering oil in a lot of countries now. They all need just them. They all need to learn from the experience of Nigeria. And my institute, Optimum Oil and Gas Institute, is organizing programs that will enable young geoscientists train in relevant areas like petrol, geographics, if you know the Halliburton and the various softwares, the AI and join, we train people specifically on those. And when you get trained in those fields, your space is international. The whole world is a space. So I want you to be confident. Stay in geology. They are talking about climate change and we're going into renewable energies. That is your field. You are the ones that will, through your knowledge, create new areas. And it doesn't matter where you started, as he has told us. You can navigate and get into all aspects because your discipline in the university, no geology department will aspire to train you ready for industry. None one. In my own time, only 2 of us ended up. We are 8 of us graduated in that class. Classes are small in those days. Only 2 of us got jobs in the first 2-3 years. But now things have changed. But geology is our geoscience and geoengineering. There are, it's not by employment, it's by your genuinity and what you can do to survive. And I use this occasion to say to all of you that I wish you well and God bless you.
All right, thank you very much once again, Prof.
Emeritus, don't.
Prof. Emeritus, yes, very well, because I'm sure I'm not the only one enjoying the Gambian experience today. Very wonderful one. Again, a very big thank you to our presenter, Danjuma, for taking us through those subjects in geology perspective. Thank you once again. At this hour, we would like to entertain some remarks from our sponsors. After that, we will invite one of our partners, the sharpshooters, to make 1 or 2 remarks. And then we look at some other programs that is left for us in the course of the year as SNAPE members and partners as well. So I would like to invite Dr. Olajide to give us the sponsor's remark. He's connected with us via online. Please, Dr. Olajide, if you can hear me, I'd like to hear from you or any representative here, if you have assigned any. Thank you.
Probably somebody wants to speak.
All right, thank you. Dr. Majid.
Is it one of the two? So while Dr. Wesley is coming, Shafika, can you come and take just 1 minute and can you speak now?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, yes, go ahead.
Okay, not good morning now. Sorry, I'm far away from Port Harcourt right now, and it's good morning where I am, but it's good afternoon to you all there. It's been a very wonderful session we have had today. Thank you to NAPE for giving us the opportunity to sponsor this event and a chance for us to speak about some of the things we do. Uncertainties, resolving uncertainties, working around uncertainties, mitigating them, and all that is a big deal. Just like Dr. Magnus said, whatever we have done today is just scratching the surface. In fact, my PhD work is on resolving uncertainties around geological modeling. It's a big deal. We thank you. Danjuma, thank you and well done for your presentation. I'll just quickly say one or two things about our company. LOJ Engineering Consultants, we are one of the companies under the LOJ group. Under the LOJ group, we have LOJ Engineering, we have LOJ Energy, we have LOJ International Education Consultancy, and we have the LOJ Farms. We are located in Port Harcourt, but we do projects from different parts of the world. Who are we? We are fully owned by Nigerians, and our vision is to become a leading provider in geological engineering and specialist services to support both the oil and allied sectors of the Nigerian economy. Our reputation goes ahead of us. We are people of integrity. We have passion for excellence, professionalism. We maintain personnel that are top in the industry, and the consultants we work with, they are the best you can find around. Next slide, please. So our strength, okay, I've talked about this. Then when we started LOJ Engineering, which is just one part of the LOJ group, we decided to work with different companies. We said the only way we can compete with the Halliburtons and the Schlums of this world is to work with other great and strong companies we met on ground. So we formed partnership with several companies, Orion, PET, EMR, even GeoSolution. Dr. Muyiwa Lawoki came online a few minutes ago. We had an alliance. Those are people, they are legends in the industry. We partnered with all these people, and we've been doing so much since we came in. Go on, please. Next slide. Our services, I'm talking just about LOJ Engineering. Our services involves integrated geosciences and engineering studies, well completions and drilling support services by virtue of our partnership, data management and real-time services, also by virtue of our alliance. We do personnel service, we provide personnel services for drilling support, training and mentoring and all that. Please go to the next slide. I want to see how I can do this in 3 minutes. Our services, like I said, integrated geosciences and engineering studies. We carry out FDPs, we do prospect maturation studies. We've done all sorts of studies around the industry. Yeah, Danjuma said we work mainly around Niger Delta, but yes, we've also done projects around the inland basins of Nigeria. I know I've worked around the Chad Basin. We've done a lot of work around Anambra Basin and all that. Let's go to the next slide. Training and mentoring here, we teach courses in core log seismic data integration, reservoir description, formation damage, and even advanced rock properties. Personnel service, we provide all sorts of services for rig operations to some of the IOCs. Go ahead, please. Yes, in partnership with Spark Oil, we carry out well completion and drilling support services, TCP, drill stem testing. We have downhole memory gauges and all that. We run slick line operations and on and on. Just go to the next slide. Also, in partnership with Orion, we provide drilling support services whereby we do data management and real-time monitoring of rig drilling operations from either the client's office or from our office. Then we have this analytical laboratory based in Lagos where we carry out geochemical analysis, some high-end analysis. Just go on. We've worked for the good, the bad, the ugly. We've been working for all sorts since we came on board. We're presently carrying some high-profile projects with NAPL right now. We just concluded an FDP study and also 2 prospect maturation studies. We're starting new ones and just like that. Go on. Our model is we form alliances with companies that share same values with us. And by the time we form the alliances, it could be standalone, it could be collaboratively, and we put in funding to our projects together. And at the end, we share revenue, Then we work, our alliances are such that mutual exclusivity is there, we can stand alone or we can work with them. We've for some time maintained, back to the next slide, for some time maintained a revenue. We maintain over 2 million yearly revenue. And by virtue of our alliances, we're doing about 8 million yearly revenue in projects. Go ahead, please. We have good financial strength, so bring it on. We're ready to work with you. Our bankers will tell you we have clean bill of financial health. Go ahead, please. So like I said, we have business networks with NAPL, NAOC, several NOCs, NUPRC, and some of our partners. Go ahead, please. Thank you very much for listening to me. We are ISO 9000 2015 certified for quality. And we say thank you again to NAPE for giving us this opportunity. God bless you all. Thanks.
My friend, you took longer than I gave to you. That means you're going to sponsor.
It's no problem. We can do that.
Give LOJ.
Remarks from the
Don't worry, we'll take another session next year.
Yeah,
wonderful. Thank you very much. That's all we ask. That's all we want to. Thank you very much, Dr. Dide, for having us for. Okay, our partner, Subsurface, please. 1 minute.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reservoir from Subsurface, and first of all, I appreciate NAPE for this collaboration. We have been together for a while, and definitely I've seen B2C patronage from the NAPE community, and we're looking forward to more B2B as businesses, NAPE to patronize us. So we cover the event, and also we are providing the free headshots at the back. So you don't want to take the headshots, can go back at the end of the event to take the headshots.
They have political ambition.
And also, we are more than a photography company. We are media. We do branding. We do creative design. almost all of our sample products are about to have done calendars for Shell, for Seplat, a lot of things. So you can just go back at the end of the event to just check. Look forward for more business with everyone here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sharpshooter has they are coming of age when it comes to partnership. NAPE is a very good business environment for partners like them. We are looking forward to more partners to partner with us and have a wonderful sections that will accumulate to a beautiful annual conferences and businesses. Thank you very much, Sharpshooters, for that wonderful reminder. So we'd like to look at a few activities left for us as NAPE members via the announcement. So please, let's have the announcements so that we look at what we have. Yes, while I wait for the announcements, I would like to remind us that I'm sure we had the president-elect while he was giving us his remarks. He has promised us that we have one more. And by God's grace, we truly have one more. So next month, we'll be having our next call. At my connector, as rightly said, Port Harcourt chapter is placed to be, and that is where it's happening. So please plan to attend. We will announce the dates and time in due time. Thank you very much. So for few of the activities we have, just like we just had now, NAPE, as you know, we have chapters all around the country and beyond that a lot of these e-learning as professional experiences are being discussed. So please do well to join for those that are virtual. Then if you happen to find yourself close to where one is happening physically, we've been encouraged to be part of the community now. As we know that a lot of knowledge has been shared and we enrich ourselves by so attending, whether virtual or online. So we have the African Energy Week coming for few of our professionals that want to be part of it. Not forgetting that we have the annual conferences, that is where all NAPE members come together, discuss their challenges, exhibit the new technology, and a lot of discussions are happening. So for this year, it's going to happen November 10th to 14th at the Hotel, our original venue. We all are encouraged and urged to make plans to be part of this few days gathering. It's a gathering of professionals. I'm sure, and I promise you, the way you come is definitely not going to be the way you will leave the annual conference. Okay, this is just a few of the details. We can check them online via our website. This is already almost concluded. We have call for actions for those of us who have researches and presentation, technical presentations to make for us. You are requested to submit your papers as soon as possible so that you can have the authorizations to present. Because, of course, I mean, you know, we're not very organized. The more you align to the programs, the better the outcome. Again, part of the activities of the annual conference is the exhibition. I said earlier that companies are giving the platform to exhibit what they have. There'll be new innovations, breakthroughs, their methodology, their environment, their approach, whatever it is they have for us. They equally have the opportunity to exhibit. So we have exhibition floors. The last time I was in a meeting when the president-elect said something, he made mention that he can thankfully say that this year's exhibition floor has been 100% subscribed. What that means is that NAPE still remains a place to be. Okay, we are aware that membership, the strength of our membership lies in us subscribing to or renewing our membership. As NAPE members, we are encouraged to, renew our membership via our NAPE dues, our dues. Then if you're not a member yet, please, I wonder what you're waiting for. You'll definitely be missing a lot because a lot of opportunities are there for you to be part of via your page as a member. So please do want to subscribe and then renew your membership. Okay. Again, the president-elect has reminded us the need for us to continually subscribe to the CEP, that's the continuous education programs. We know that things like this, our gatherings and these discussions are not easily come by. They are sponsored. And so we will continue to lead with our servicing companies, our NOCs, our companies, other IOCs, NOCs, servicing companies to be part of these discussions by virtue of sponsorship. Thankfully, today, LOJ not only sponsored today, has promised to sponsor another one in due time. And we do appreciate that some other companies are around, that are partners here and beyond Port Harcourt will be part of this sponsorship so that all of us will be beneficiaries of this technical learning. Very important, as an association, annually we conduct election to usher in executives that lead the association to greater heights, and there are processes to that. Currently, this year, we've gone a lot of processes. I think we're in the latter stage of voting proper.
September 1.
September 1st, yes. A lot of processes have gone before the September 1st commencement of election. But the selection, announcements, presentation, a lot of, if you remember, you will be aware of what I'm saying. The election proper will be starting 1st of September through to October 15. So we are all encouraged to, again, renew our membership, because if you're not an active member, you will not be part of this. What that means is that your vote will not count. And for a vote to count, you need to be an active member. What that means is your decision, your choice, be part of those who will take NAPE to a greater height, if so elected. And we have few prospective officers vying for some positions. We have the candidate for president-elect, Mrs. Olajumeke Ajayi, the managing director in Geology Energy, coming for the president-elect. We have a candidate for Secretary General. We have Dr. Christopher Jackson with ND Western coming for Secretary General. We have for Financial Secretary, Mrs. Abidemi Bergo from Shell coming for the office of the Financial Secretary. We equally have Mrs. Sonia Oguntola for Publicity Secretary. Also with Shell. We have for the candidates for Treasurer, we have Mr. Emeka Ezekwelo, Shell, Slumbeje, account manager Slumbeje, and we have Dr. Kaide Olaf Perenye from Shell as well, so Treasurer. Again, we have for the position of Okay, so this is there to us because he's already the editor-in-chief and he has the option of an extension. So the work started, he was.
We're not campaigning.
We are not, please, we are not campaigning, but we are presenting him as one of our own. He is there, Prof, you can just give us a wave. Thank you very much for all you do. We have Professor Adekunle, Associate Professor Adekunle Tokolago for the position of editor-in-chief. And we have Mr. Oluseyi Ekun from Chevron, equally for the position of editor-in-chief. For the office of the Assistant General Secretary, we have 3 of our capable heads, Mr. Lucky Wu, coming for the office, vying for the candidate office of the Assistant Secretary General. We have Mrs. Onome Jonathan from Arotumi for the office of Assistant General Secretary, and then Dr. Afolabi Oluwajane for office of the Assistant General Secretary. For the office of the Assistant Editor-in-Chief, we have Mr. Oba Nuku from Chevron and Mr. Lawrence Ibrahim Dong from Ministry of Petroleum, or for the position of the Assistant Editor-in-Chief. Of course, I mentioned earlier that we have, the only way we have things of this nature happening is that we have sponsors. And for this year, like the President-elect has rightfully stated, we have a lot of sponsors. We have ExxonMobil, we have Eni, we have FSTMP, we have Else Energy, we have Andy Weston, we have New Cross, we have Shell, we have Seplat, we have Ani, we have Anadel, we have Chevron, we have Martinium. Sorry, we have NUPRS, yes. We have Platform, we have NMPC, we have the Chokonsan Group, we have the FHN, we have the Indentia, we have the Lucas Shrine, we have the Petrodata, the PIGL, the Western African Exploration and Production Company, and a whole lot. So I mean, if you're here and your company hasn't done the needful, we urge you to make plans to be part of the conference and our technical presentations. Thank you very much as we look forward to the next month's session. I'll hand over the section to my coordinator to do some of the needful, and then we'll call it a close. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Callistus. And thank you, appreciations to you all for being here today, and especially my guys. You corrected me. Are you a professor? Emeritus professor. Emeritus professor who is in that. And then also a blessing, also again, thank you for really coming. Can I ask you to kindly join me if you do not mind and leave you on the platform here? We need to make presentations to the presenter and also the sponsor. It's a way of saying thank you. We really appreciate your sponsoring this event. Don't take it lightly. So we plan to. We're planning here to be much of I see that I'm sorry. So I don't like that was also supporting me. So thank you so much for joining. With that, let's begin with the presenters, Danjuma Jacob Damina, who made this excellent presentation, and I'm going to welcome against to the presentation today. I'm happy to present that has the presenters so far.
Yes.
So no, I said yeah. I was waiting.
I'm even surprised I did not decide.
Thank you.
Please, listen.
I think that's not very So thank you. No, so I think you're also going to be representing your company.
Yeah.
Now, when you come back, I'm going to carry two of them for full disclosure. No, just so sir, you have to present this. This is a sponsors flag for sponsoring the this most technical meeting. On behalf of NAPDEP, thank you very much.
Can you turn it, please?
I'm a sponsor.
Stone, can we turn? Yeah.
Please hold this hand, please.
Okay, so we're gonna do photo session now. You bring two of them and then come and then leave the menu. And I want you to know, is our food ready? Yes. Very ready. So it's gonna be one aperitif shortly. So after the photographs. All right. Yeah, sure. I hope this light is not.
No, it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
It's not doing total internal reflection.
Not. I'm taking another one. Okay. Thank you.
Instead of a crossover.
Yeah,
So you get.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate how you got that done. Thank you so much. So it is, thank you for coming and keep it with us next month, September, right? Sorry. So September. And those of you online, thank you very much. We are over now. Thank you for participating. All right. Thank you. I'm ready to go.
All right, so with that, we want to say thank you to everyone who is presently in the room and joined us online. Thank you for making our time with us. Please do keep a day with us next month. The date and time will be duly announced. For those of us in the room, please, after the prayer section, closing prayer, we have some refreshment just behind you. Take your time and then refresh yourself before you leave. Thank you very much. Please.